What's up, Wisconsin? Welcome back to the Inside Wisconsin Show here on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the 5 stars. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, JA. I'm not hobbling. I'm not limping. We had a great Pink Flamingo weekend. No broken bones, and you were missed. People would have loved to see you.
Okay, so I'll buy all of that, except maybe I'm not hobbling because you're sitting down and I have no proof that you aren't in a cast or a walking boot or some sort of a knee sleeve, and there are crutches just out of frame.
I'm not pulling out a toe like Aaron Rodgers did. No, I'm not doing that. Everything else is fine from here on down, and I don't have any pants on right now, so I'm not getting out of this chair. It's not happening.
That's a whole other story, but I'm gonna watch to conclusion of this, and just to make sure you don't use the Leinenkugel's oar behind you as a crutch when you leave the set.
Oh, I'm good.
Good to hear.
No crutches necessary.
And I'm good to hear, as always, that you raised a ton. How much money did you guys raise?
We don't know yet. We find out Thursday.
You're guessing.
But it rained, if I'm guessing, over 70 again. I mean, don't hold me to that, but I think so. It was a great weekend.
Good for you guys.
All right. Great interview today. Dan Jansen, Olympic gold medalist here from Wisconsin, speed skater, finally made it happen. What are your memories of that real quick before we jump in?
He is a story of perseverance, is he not? Yeah. With one, to go to that many Olympics, right? 3 or 4 Olympics, multiple. Anytime you're a multiple time Olympian, which is amazing, but everybody recalls, his sister who was ill, and then she passes away, and then he falls, and then he falls. Yeah, it just so many tragic moments that it is when he finally won. The triumph was even more amazing for him, and so that's what I remember. Here's this guy that you're just like, oh my God, that you were gut wrenched for. And he's a proud Wisconsinite, but all of America, right, went down when that guy went down. And I feel like all of America felt like they had a little piece of the podium when he finally got to the top step.
Touché.
After winning his last race.
Well said. All right, great combo here. Dan Jansen, Wisconsin native and Olympic gold medalist on the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. Man, I have memories with this guy. That's Dan Jansen, Olympic gold medalist speed skater, West Allis, his own. What's up, Dan? Welcome to the Inside Wisconsin Show.
Thank you. Good to be here, guys. I'm in the car, as you can probably tell, but happy to be with you.
We're not violating any safety regulations or rules of the road, all I'm sure.
I am not. You can see my seatbelt, so I'm good to go.
That's awesome.
So Trev said it, West Allis. You're born there. You go to high school there. Does a kid from West Allis have any other career options in life than being a speed skater?
I didn't. No, it was funny because when I grew up, there was exactly one 400-meter speed skating oval in the United States, refrigerated, and it happened to be in West Allis. And the other side of that is I'm the youngest of 9 kids, and every one of them skated before I did. And so with the track being there and my brother and sister skating, it was in my blood. But I loved other sports. I played baseball all the way through high school. I played football about halfway, and then I had to choose between the 2 sports because the seasons conflicted. And when I told the football coaches I was quitting football to be a speed skater, they thought I was crazy. But it all worked out okay.
Yeah, I think it did.
So wait, so that many? Forget the world record book. Did you guys have like a family record book?
Well, we didn't because. Yeah, I don't know why actually, but but all my, it's great. My next oldest brother was world class as well. He was on a couple world teams, skated world championships with me. Just missed 2 Olympic teams by about a tenth of a second. So that was kind of heartbreaking. I would have loved to experience the games with him, but it wasn't to be.
Dan, I grew up in Johnson Creek, and I had some family that lived in the Milwaukee area, ironically West Allis for a little bit of time. And every time we drove by the Pettit, I saw the Olympic rings that were on there, and it was all because of you and Bonnie, which is kind of my question, right? Dan Jansen and Bonnie Blair. Bonnie Blair and Dan Jansen. This is all about Dan Jansen today, but for a while there, you couldn't say your name without also saying Bonnie Blair. And we asked her this too, by the way. Talk about your relationship with her. Here we are, almost 30 years after Lillehammer.
Yeah. And you know what? It's amazing. It's, you know, I love Bonnie like a sister. I literally, I don't remember being alive without knowing Bonnie Blair. That's how far back we go, because our families, you know, I was the youngest of 9, Bonnie was the youngest of 6. And so they, you know, our families knew each other even before we were born. So she truly is like a sister. And then it just so happened we were able to train together, compete in 4 Olympics, you know, on the same team. And, you know, it was always amazing to be able to watch Bonnie and have her success at the Olympics. You know, I took just as much pride in that as anything. And, you know, I didn't have the same good fortune she did in most of my games, but it, you know, thank God it turned out in the end that we both won gold in Lillehammer.
You finally get your gold. Your story is so well known, obviously, because of what happened, the multiple Olympics, your sister and her past. Is it ever too well known? Like, does it ever overshadow the fact that you had this unbelievable career?
That's a great question, John. I'm not sure. I will say this. I do believe that, kind of sadly enough, and I totally get it. It's just how it is. But I feel like had I not won in my last race, I would have been known more for not succeeding or for falling or whatever. You know, it's funny. I literally fell, I would say 3 or maybe 4 times in my entire career, out of 14 years internationally. 2 of them happened to be at the same, you know, at the same Olympics after my sister passed. But I literally, and in some ways still am known for the guy who fell all the time. And it just didn't happen very often. But it is how, you know, that's how the world works, I guess. And but it's okay. You know, that's sports, and that's really the perception I think that the public gets, especially in a sport like ours where we are in the United States. We're only seen really once every 4 years, unless you're a diehard fan. It's different in Europe, in the Netherlands and in Norway. They know us, and but in the U.S., that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, let me follow up on that, because I am, everybody on their show knows, I'm a huge track and field guy. So tell me about the importance of that Olympic medal, because I see these people all the time that are world champions and they do all these things. But man, if you're not your best on that one day every 4 years, it's like back to anonymity. Like, can you explain sort of how that is? That kind of, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but just that the livelihood of that sport.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I think that, you know, being in a sport that is more well known in the European countries than it is here, it's a lot of fun to live over there and to experience that type of thing, because we wouldn't get that here in the U.S. Other than the Olympics. But so I'll say this: they have more of an appreciation for the sport itself, for the results in non-Olympic years. But having said that, there's maybe more pressure even during an Olympic year. And so it's a little bit of a mix of those things, but it's an interesting life that, you know, we lived for many years. Really fun to experience that, but, you know, very strange to be well known in a different country, more so than you are in your own. Now, mine, that changed a bit with me as the Olympics went on, of course, because my story became what it was. But strictly on the basis of skating results, I was much more known in Europe than it was back here.
So take us to the moment you finally win gold in Lillehammer after trying so many different times. As a kid, all I remember all of it, right? But the biggest moment is when you won and then that hood thing came off and the lettuce was just a flowing, man. Hair for days. Can you tell I'm jealous? So in that moment,
right.
You win that race and not only get your gold, but you set the world record at that time. Emotionally, just take us back to that moment for a second.
Man, after what I had been through in the last 3 Olympics, my first Olympics I was 18 and happy to be there, and I got fourth, and I almost won a medal, and that was amazing. The next 3 I was favored in, and so when it wasn't happening for different reasons, and then especially in Lillehammer in '94, my last Olympics, the 500 meters was my dominant race. Everybody knew I was the best. I had the 5 fastest times in history were all mine, and so if I skate a halfway decent 500, I'm going to win gold. And I slipped in the last turn, and I didn't fall, but I slipped. And then so now I got 1 race left, and it's the 1,000 meters. The race I wasn't favored in, and it wasn't my favorite. Having said that, I spent the 3 years leading up to that mentally, not only physically, but also mentally working on the 1,000 meters and believing. I knew I had the speed and strength, but it was more of a mental thing. I would tire in the last lap, and so I had to get over that. I had to beat that thing mentally, and then so for it all to come down to the 1,000 meters, and then not only to win but set a world record, it just like you couldn't really write that script, and it happened. So back to your question, the feeling, yes, pull off my hood and show you the mullet, but honestly, it was such a relief that I finally skated to my potential at the Olympic Games. That I wasn't. It's pretty interesting. I remember having this amazing sense of calm before I went to the line, and you would think maybe just the opposite because it was my last chance, because there was more pressure on me than ever before. But I was super calm, and I don't know what to attribute it to other than I can say that I was at peace with the result before it happened, no matter what it was, because I knew, I kind of promised myself, my goal had changed really going into that last games. Of course, I wanted to win, and I was the best, and I felt like I deserved to do that. But my goal wasn't so much to win anymore. It was to skate my best at the Olympics, because I hadn't been able to do that for different reasons again. But when I crossed the line, I knew that I had done that. I had skated my potential. There were still 30 guys that had to go yet, but I pretty much knew that I was going to at least be on the podium, and more so I was at peace, because even before the race, because I knew that I couldn't have been better physically or mentally. When you go into a big competition, that's what you have to do, is get yourself to that point. And I had done that. And so I thought, chips fall where they may now, but I'm as good as I'm ever going to be. And let's see what happens. And it turned out obviously the way it turned out. So it was great.
So this is my favorite question. I ask it to everybody that's ever been on this show, or most people I come in contact with that have a gold medal, whether it was Kenny Harrison on this show. I did the Boston Marathon with Eliud Kipchoge of Kenya. What's it like to hear your national anthem? And do you ever hear it the same way again?
Never. Literally never. I've told people this, that I obviously have heard the national anthem thousands of times in my life. Never once did I hear it like that. Never did I feel so patriotic. I even heard it, obviously I won many other races and heard the national anthem, but never like I did at the Olympic Games. And seeing the flag, we're coming up on the 4th of July tomorrow, and still I see the flag and I still feel that patriotism, but also a sense of pride that I was able to, I felt like, and I still do, like I didn't just do this for me or for my family. You really feel like you're doing it for the American people. And as corny as that may sound, the cool thing about the Olympics is, in pro sports, literally, let's take Packers and Bears, for instance. You're 80 miles apart, and if one guy plays for another team, the fans from that other, they can't stand the guy, or they find a reason to cheer against him. In the Olympics, if you're American, most Americans are cheering for you because you represent them. And it's unlike any other, except for, like World Cup soccer and so forth. But it's an amazing feeling to be able to represent your country.
You probably heard us chuckle in the background.
My goosebumps.
Yeah. I'm looking down at the monitor and John's like, I'm freaking out. You got goosebumps. It's crazy. That's cool. Well, hey, way to go, Dan. You unified the country. What else you got up your sleeve? That'd be great.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's take a quick break. We are chatting with Olympic gold medalist Dan Jansen, Wisconsin's own. All right, we're back in a bit. The Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube. Leave a review. Smash the like button. Just get with us. All right, JA, it is time for me to cook this week. My wife had some pretty major surgery a couple days ago, and she asked me kindly if I could handle all the meals, which I enjoy.
Okay, good.
I'm also clueless on how this goes. So I went to festivalfoods.com or festfoods.com. Right under their main header, it says meal ideas, and you click on recipes and whammo. Literally everything that I could think to make is there. First thing that jumped out at me, beer and barbecue meatballs. I think that's Wednesday.
Okay, good. Sloppy Joes. What else is easy?
Spaghetti.
Put a steak on the grill, maybe. Yeah.
I could smoke some meat on the Traeger. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, let's do that. All right, I'm onto it.
That takes some time and some commitment, but I'd appreciate it. That'd be good. Go for it.
Yeah. Festival Foods has my back. Literally any meal idea you need. I did the math. There's 868 meal ideas on festfoods.com. Literally go there. If you ever are in a pinch on what to make for dinner or lunch or take to a potluck, go to festfoods.com, click on meal ideas and recipes. Everything that you didn't even know existed is there. And of course, all the ingredients are at Festival Foods.
I say this with the greatest empathy. Amanda's not going to be out 838 days. Is she like that? No. She's not going to be 2 years. Is she? Okay.
I hope not. No. That's not the plan by any means. It's just a week.
All
but
right.
Are you a rule follower? I was going to ask you this. Are you a rule follower? Do you follow rules? No? Okay, not so much. Got it.
Sure.
I'm a recipe follower. I can't just whip stuff. No, but amazing. Okay. Amanda can just whip stuff together. I can't do that. So Festival Foods saves the day.
I measure stuff. Well, like your mom would go by and just go, actually, just put a little more water in there. Throw some, and you're like, how? It just doesn't look right. Yeah, I'm not that person. Yeah, I'm with you. Like
the recipes are there. Bestfoods.com. Go get your meal idea.
It's a festival.
JA in between segments with our guy, Dan Jansen. Time for another top 5 list presented by Wisconsin's leaders in STEM, the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. UW-Platteville offers nationally ranked STEM programs, and its graduates stay here in Wisconsin, leading at top companies right here at home. Find out more at uwplatt.edu/engineering. STEM, big leaders in the STEM. It's such a huge program for kids.
And you know what we need? We need more women in STEM, more girls. Don't be afraid of math and science. Dig in, get after it.
Get in there. All right, top 5 list time. Dan Jansen, obviously a gold medalist. Bonnie Blair, Eric Hayden, everybody knows them in the speed skating category. I wondered if we could come up with a top 5 list of those that were not speed skaters, yet had a Wisconsin presence that won gold. I put it together. I know you're going to have a lot to say about all these people.
Do I get to guess at some of these or what?
Why ruin the whole thing? Because you're just going to get them all right.
Are these people from Wisconsin or affiliated Wisconsin?
Yes. Yes, and yep, they're from Wisconsin and are also affiliated with Wisconsin.
Do we give extra points if you're from? I feel like we should give you extra points if you're from Wisconsin.
This is true. Yes, I think that's also the case. There's definitely some on this list.
More points than like Hillary Knight, who was a Badger but isn't from Wisconsin.
Honorable mention. And who was she on the hockey team with?
Well, there were a lot of Badgers on the team that won the gold medal in 2018. So Hillary Knight, who obviously, and at times on the ESPN, and then what's her name? Duggan, who was the captain.
Megan Duggan, yeah.
Megan Duggan. So there's probably more, but those two are the biggies, Hillary Knight and Duggan.
Honorable mentions, and then another honorable mention, which I might get ridiculed because he's not on the top 5 list. Ralph Metcalf, right? All right, yeah, moving on.
You hate track. Just admit it. Dude, I understand. Ralph Metcalf, though, for people that don't know, right? 36 Olympics, went to Marquette, which, by the way, Marquette they didn't drop track, but they've dropped all their scholarships. It is no longer a scholarship sport, which is terrible. But Ralph Metcalf, gold medalist and lifelong, probably Jesse Owens' best friend. He was Jesse Owens' best friend. They ran together on the 4x1. Ralph's got some gold medals. He he's in Illinois. He went on to be an Illinois congressman or in Illinois. He was in Illinois politics for a long, long time. Great man.
Better there. All right, here's the top 5 list. Those are the honorable mentions. Number 5, Matt Hamilton. The sport was?
He was curling.
Yep, curler.
We love the curlers, man. You know, curlers are popular because we all feel like we could be an Olympian when we see a curler.
True.
Don't you think there's certain events, like I can't, even as much as I love track, I watch somebody run 100. I watch Kenny Bednarik run, and I'm like, can't do that.
Nope.
I watch people ski jump, wouldn't do that. Whatever.
I'm sweating, not doing it.
I would be cool as a passenger, but you look at that and you think it's kind of like bowling, right? You're like, I could do that. I could be an Olympian.
Sure.
You couldn't. You're misguided.
Yeah.
But it's totally a cool thought.
Well, neither of you or I could curl the way Matt Hamilton can curl. That team winning gold there, 2018, right?
Curling rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the great comebacks in Olympic history. The problem is it just took like a week and a half because he had to win a bunch of matches. But yeah.
And then won a bunch in a row and then tied 5-5.
All right. What do we got after that? 4.
Number 4, Kenny Harrison, former guest of the program here. Right.
Go. Still the Olympic record holder in the triple jump and did it into a negative wind. What else do you need to know about that?
Right. Killing it. Jumped out of the pit. That
was in Madison. He did not in Atlanta. He was in the pit, which is good. That means they measured the mark.
It's better, yeah. Number 3, the Ham brothers from Waukesha.
Gymnasts. Yeah, those guys, they flip, they turn. We fall in love all the time with the female gymnastics. They become America's darling. Mm-hmm. And outside of the 84 team, for the men's team in 84, when you had Bart Connor and Mitch Gaylord and some of those guys during the boycott, and they did so well. There were no Eastern Bloc countries. I think that's the only time we've had really a famous men's Olympic team, while the women's are all the time. But the Ham brothers after they're as good as we've had.
You call it the rings, right? Where that's what the event is called, the rings. I just have this mental image of one of the Ham brothers holding themselves up on the rings, and all you saw was pipes. That's
when they do this. It's when they do what they call it, the Iron Cross or whatever. When they put them straight out, it's even more amazing. And they just hold themselves there.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
They do rings, and they do a high bar, and they do a vault, and they do a floor. I think they have more apparatus. The women have 4. I think they might have 6.
Triceps for days.
Yeah, those guys are stupid. Yeah.
Number 2, Gwen Jorgensen. Remember Gwen?
Yeah, that's pretty high. Especially because you're dealing kind of trackish. Olympic triathlete. When triathlete was a fairly new sport, she might have been the first or second champion of the event. Since gone on to be a great marathoner.
She was the first U.S. person to ever bring gold home in the triathlon.
Yep. Again, rather kind of a newer sport. They're trying to add stuff all the time. But I wouldn't want to. I'd want her to race on my team, but I wouldn't want to race her or swim against her or bike against her.
Can't do it. And number one, I think this is a no-brainer. Mark Johnson and Bobby Suter, Miracle on Ice team. That goes without saying.
Do I need to get up and go get my USA 1980 Olympic jersey? Hello.
That's made. So they're both signed it, right?
No, the one I have is signed by Mark and Micah Ruzioni.
Okay.
And I have a hockey puck over here signed by Kenny Morrow, one of the great defensemen, and the only guy on that team that had a beard.
We're going to dedicate an entire show just all the crap in that office where you're sitting.
We should, anyway, that's in fact, as in my humble opinion, U.S. hockey team, number one, and then everybody else in the world's tied for second. I don't care who they are or what they did. Everybody else can just be tied for second. That's it.
Pretty special. There you go. The top 5 list of Wisconsin people, whether they went here, lived here, had a Wisconsin tie that won gold outside of speed skating. We got it. Bonnie Blair, Dan Jansen, Eric Heiden. Totally get it. We are back, the Inside Wisconsin show. Trevor Thomas, John Anderson, and that's Dan Jansen. He won the gold in the Olympics in 94, speed skater. But you also won gold, Dan, in 1988 at the World Sprint Championships that happened to be at home. So what was it like winning gold in West Allis, your hometown?
It was amazing. And that was my first world championship that I won. And to be able to do that, well, a couple reasons. Obviously doing it on the track I grew up, it was outdoor then. It wasn't the Pettit Center yet. So it was outdoors, cold, windy, everything. But the track I grew up skating on was amazing. The people came out to watch. But I tell you the best thing about that, and I didn't obviously know it at the time until a week later, but so my sister Jane, who was ill with leukemia, and she had come out of remission. She had relapsed, and I got to go back home to skate the World Championships, but also was able to visit with Jane and see her. And when I won, went back to the hospital really to, kind of to celebrate with her and also say goodbye, but not goodbye forever. I didn't know that until the end of the season. I was going to go back now and finish, skate the Olympics the following week and then finish the World Cup season, which doesn't end until March. And so, I went back to the hospital and we said our goodbyes, but then literally a week later, she passed on the morning of my race at those Olympics. And so I'll forever be grateful that the World Championships were in Milwaukee, more so for that reason than being able to win at home.
So by my estimation, the 3 dominant speed skating countries in the world are Norway, the Netherlands, and Wisconsin. Internationally, is our state known? Like, do people know Wisconsin?
They do, yes, for Eric Heiden, for myself, for Bonnie Blair, and Bonnie's a transplant, but we gladly accept her. But also because the track itself, being it's funny, people around at least in the speed skating world, know West Allis, not even Milwaukee, but they know West Allis because of the track.
Bonnie's from Illinois originally, right?
She is, yeah.
Yeah, we've been rescuing people from Illinois for a really long time. It's all good. We'll gladly have her.
Exactly.
Were you on a Wheaties box, Dan? I can't remember.
Oh, funny story. So Wheaties, for whatever reason, there was about a 4-year period where they decided that they weren't going to be a sponsor of the Olympics. And it happened to be then. So instead I was on a Kellogg's cornflakes box, but never got the Wheaties because they didn't do it that year.
Damn.
By the way, does all of this, you talk about it so in such detail and what's vivid memory, does all of it feel like 30 years ago?
Not at all. It's it's unbelievable how fast time goes. But then yeah, you're right. I mean, I can still, I mean, I remember vividly just almost every part of my race, and before it and after it, and then all these things we talk about. And I guess it's probably the same with you guys for, whatever it may be, whether it's watching the Olympics or, your first jobs in media. It's crazy, but all of a sudden, literally last week, I turned 58 years old. I'm like, what? Come on, that's crazy.
I had that same problem in May. I turned 58, and I'm like, that's impossible.
I know.
By the way, when you're 58, while you are in Trevor's wheelhouse in terms of Olympic speed skating athletes, Eric Heiden, I'm 15 when he wins that. That's what you are when he wins. They're almost going to be. But can you put into perspective for us as a guy who's been a speed, what it was like, the accomplishment that he had in Lake Placid to win all 5 of those races? Like, I don't know if you can even wrap your head around it, but try to help us.
So I'll tell you, it for one, it's never going to happen again. But number 2, like, for instance, for the layman Olympic watcher, whether it's, I don't care what sport it is, everybody knows, like, track and field, 100 meter, right? Usain Bolt. So take Usain Bolt, and not only does he win the 100, he also wins the 200. Okay, he's done that. But he goes 400, fine. He goes 5K and 10K. Like, not happening. It's literal. Even, okay, here's another one. Michael Phelps, right? Okay, arguably the greatest Olympian of all time, certainly won the most medals. But those are all, a good number of them are relays and different strokes. Amazing. Like, again, arguably the best ever. But Michael Phelps was never the fastest swimmer in the world. In the 50, he couldn't win the 50 free. And Eric he did them all. And he didn't even understand what he did until many years after he retired, I think. We had to kind of tell him, Eric, you don't even understand how good you were. And he quit. He was 21, he retired. I mean, if he would have stuck around, he had to go on and be a doctor. Come on, like, ride the Tour de France. But if the cool thing for me would have been, I could have been on 2 Olympic teams with Eric. He could have gone 2 more games easily, and so that was kind of a bummer for me not to be able to compete against him, because I started to beat his times in the 500 meters. But at the time, nobody could beat him in any race.
So if your coach had said, by the way, Dan, I would like to enter you in the 10,000, what would you have said?
I mean, literally, he would have changed his mind after watching me, skate 10 laps. It's just, for a sprinter, a true sprinter like myself, it's, I could go up to 1,500, but even in that, I was, I'd start to get tired in the end. And I could skate 25 laps in practice, but never out there. That's with others. You're in a line, you're drafting by yourself, lap after lap. And then for a guy who's a size of a sprinter, keep in mind, most distance guys are skinnier, and they don't have these big bulky legs like Eric. The fact he did that is just mind-boggling.
So watching that happen as a Wisconsin kid makes me wonder, when you were growing up here, what's like a really memorable Wisconsin sports moment, maybe outside of the Olympics?
Yeah, so, when I was a huge all sports fan. Brewers were in the World Series 82, 83, so I was in high school then. Unfortunately, the Packers were terrible for about 20 years until 96 or so when Reggie came. But so it would have been probably baseball, and then anything Packers I always loved. Bucks, Marquette in 77, I guess they won. I was 6th grade, I think, at the time. So I remember those things very much. But for me, yeah, Olympics were always, for whatever reason, probably because I did a sport that was in the Olympics. They were always my biggest memories.
See, Trevor, I'm telling you, all these things happened before you died. They're true, and they were before you were born, and they're all very important.
Yeah, I was born in 83, Dan. I try hard not to make our guests feel old, but it is what it is. I'm 40 now, and apparently I missed out on quite a bit.
Missed a ton.
Yeah.
You did. And,
Missed a ton.
well, 40, all right, you're getting up there.
One of the I'm going to get off the Olympics. I promise to do this. But one of the endearing parts of that was seeing you skate around with your daughter. But that girl's got to be 30 years old. Like, what are your kids done that have made you a proud guy?
Oh man, every day they do. Yeah, 2 girls. Jane she did. And also just about a month ago, she turned 30 years old, and you know. And they both, Olivia's the younger sister. They both live in Nashville now. They both work for country music artists. But they're just amazing girls. They're like my best friends. I talk to them every day, and the best part of my day is getting that call from them on their way home from work. Every day, it's the best.
Oh, that's cool. What is it, a Jansen family thing that you all work with celebrities? What are you doing these days?
So it depends what you like. I'll tell you this. I work with NASCAR drivers now because of where I live. Have 20 of them that train with us from all levels, from the cup level to Xfinity to truck, and even some young kids coming up. And I wasn't a NASCAR fan growing up. I wasn't, even when I moved here, but you start, because it's here, it's always around. So you start to follow it a little bit, and it's just a lot more involved in it than I realized and than other people realize. So I get to work with them on obviously strength and fitness and all that, but also the mental side of it and the focus side of it, which has been fun to try to teach them, controlling their heart rate, things like that when they're getting tense, when they're getting fatigued, how to stay focused when you're getting tired, all of those things. So I have a great time. I get to use my imagination and kind of invent new exercises and things for them to do, but it's really been fun.
It's interesting that you're a speed skater and now you work with literally race car drivers. You just can't get away from going fast. You live
left.
Or turning left. You're right. Exactly.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Are you neighbors with Matt Kenseth out there in North Carolina?
Used to be, yeah.
No
he
way.
moved, and then we moved. Oh yeah, I lived in the same neighborhood, about a quarter mile from him. I lived. Yeah. But he didn't. You know what's funny? He didn't know. He was on a radio show one time, and somebody said that I was his neighbor, and he didn't even know who I was. So,
What?
Swear to God.
Man.
But he's your age, so he's a young guy. You probably didn't know.
There you go, Trev. So I totally lied about the Olympic thing because I've totally got another one has popped in my head, and that is I just want to know if there's any difference between going to your first one and your fourth one. Is it the same excitement? Does it ever dull? Is it still a goosebump moment for you?
It is. It's the because the anticipation is so much, because we train every day, twice a day. Obviously we train for other things, World Cup circuit, World Championships, but you're always training for the Olympics, and they're always in the back of your mind, whether it's 3 years away or that very year. And then the games come, and it's every time it's the same. The excitement, the difference now, the difference now that you're at the Olympics is now it's not just the other skaters from throughout the world, it's every sport. So, it's really fun getting to interact with the skiers, with the hockey players, all the other sports, and you're all there for one reason. And the Olympics are like nothing else.
I would imagine there's not much like getting into a Hall of Fame. One more quick question here before we go to break. Olympic Hall of Fame, U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame in 2004. That's cool and all. But the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame, let's be real, 1995. There's something about home, right? Wisconsin patriotism. What's it like now when you come home?
It's man, it's always home. Like Wisconsin, I haven't lived there in quite a while, but it is still home and always will be. And even in a strange way, even still more so than here where I've lived for the last 20 years. And it's the people, my family's still there, obviously, but I still get, talk about the Hall of Fame. I'll still get, like, people will send me texts. They'll take a picture of, themselves next to the little statues downtown by the arena where they have the Hall of Fame walk, if you will, with, and they send a picture and they're next to my little statue. And it's just, it is special. Wisconsin is unbelievably special place. My wife and I have talked about possibly getting back there someday, maybe, if not anything, but maybe just for the summers, it's, I love Wisconsin. I love Wisconsin sports and Wisconsin people.
Quote of the day so far. All right, we'll wrap it up with Dan Jansen, Olympic gold medalist and clearly Wisconsin's own, in just a few. For the Inside Wisconsin Show.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Hey, remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us. So now that the Pink Flamingo is over, really, summer's over. I'm looking at bow hunting now. Like, summer's done. I got 2 months until I get back in the deer stand.
Get to
Dog
the woods.
days of summer. Yeah.
Here's how you combat the dog days of summer. You watch baseball and you drink beer. Do you have a Miller Lite? There, I've just solved your 2-month problem.
We have got to
I'm
get
an
to
idea
a
man. I'm a guy that solves problems.
Appreciate
Miller
that.
Lite, right? We've talked about it. A lot of sizes. They'll bring it to your house. You can, like, if you're stuck in the kitchen because you're cooking for your wife, you can do this. You can get through these 2 months. That's it. Put on baseball. Some people find the dog days. I like it because that's when I really can focus on baseball. I'm not distracted by other things. And then just get you one of them white cans and watch the baseball.
If the Brewers make some moves before the trade deadline, I have a reason to grab some Miller Lite and get to a Brewers game and watch them win.
And if they don't, you'll have reason to drink Miller Lite.
Exactly. That's exactly where I was going.
Hey,
oh, please do something, please.
No, we're right there. We're hanging in there. Yeah. Although, can I just tell you, the Reds are fun to watch. That's for another time. We just need to concentrate on the thing at hand.
Concentrate on Miller Lite and concentrate on just trying to get through the rest of the summer.
Beer.
They go together, Miller Lite and summer.
Didn't you tell me the Flamingo? Didn't you say when you go up and you say, like, I just need one, but when you mean one, like it's a case?
Yeah, you can 6-pack, 12-pack, 24-pack, whatever you want. That's how we got through the weekend, was a lot of Miller Lite in a very responsible way. With a Miller Lite in your hand, summer doesn't just taste great. It tastes like Miller time, even the dog days of summer. Mm-hmm. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/InsideWisconsin, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. You might be surprised I didn't lose weight this past weekend.
Do this. Just move over just a little like this. There.
No,
the other way. Other way. No, the other way. No, other way. Just a little like that. No. You're doing way too much. This, there, and just a little. There. Now it looks like you got a parrot on your shoulder, only it's a Miller Lite.
Hey, buddy. Damn it, wrong shoulder.
You'll never be a weatherman.
All right, we're back. One more segment. Dan Jansen, Olympic gold medalist. Trevor, John, 2 from me. And then we go. Number 1, where's the medal? You're home now, which is cool. Where is it?
I'm walking. Let's see.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's in, it is right here.
Yeah.
Just we have it. Might be a little, but it's. I've always had it displayed. Somebody made me a case. I don't even know where they're from. Somewhere in the Northwest, literally right after the Olympics, and it's this beautiful glass and wooden case. So I've used it ever since. It's always been hanging on my wall. People put them in their safety deposit boxes and everything, and I'm like, well, no one will ever see it. I want people to see it. So, it's special.
you set a world record in 94. Since then, that race, you're the 24th fastest.
Yeah.
Does it blow your mind that how fast these guys are going today?
Well, yes. Having said that, now I'll stipulate they would have gone a lot faster since then, but the new skates, the clap skates, have completely changed our sport. Complete. With every stride, because I don't know if you know what it, but picture a mini version of a cross country ski. Now you push off with your toe, and there's a hinge, so the blade stays on the ice. With every single push, the blade stays on the ice. They're getting so much more power. Even the women's 1,000 meters is now faster than my world record was. So that tells you what that has done for our sport. But it's crazy how fast. I mean, it really is. It's fun to watch. It's changed everything. The body type of a speed skater has changed because of these skates. It's really interesting.
All right, JA, lightning round. You go.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to make a comment on your gold medal, because I work sometimes with Dan O'Brien a lot, and he has a policy like the great decathlete. He'll let people hold the medal. He loves to show it off. He doesn't want to hide it, but he's like, but you can't put it on. You got to put it on. You can hold it. You can do all the things you want with it. Take a picture of it. Can't put it around your neck. Only I get to do that when he moves through. Okay. So, okay, I have a world record question, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but I once held the city record in the high jump in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. But what's it like to skate faster than anybody ever in the history of the world, period? The first time you do that.
Yeah, so I'll never forget my first time. I was in an outdoor track in Davos, Switzerland, which they don't use anymore. It's a natural ice. So, but that thought that you just said, it was like, it was like nobody has ever gone that fast in the history of our sport, of the world, I guess. And it's a really neat feeling. I was lucky enough to do it 8 times, usually bettering my own, but a couple times it was back and forth between my friend and I. And not only that, here's an interesting fact. Our sport is also the fastest sport that's doesn't use either gravity or mechanical. Some argue now that the skate might be mechanical I was actually the fastest human being in anything for a while. So that's pretty cool.
Wow. Do you prefer skating indoor or outdoor in global championships?
In nice weather, outdoor for sure. There's just something about it. If not necessarily Milwaukee right next to I-94, but when you're in the mountains, in the beautiful mountains, and the weather's great, I really miss that aspect of our sport, because most tracks are inside now.
Is there such a thing as good ice?
Oh yeah, the ice in Salt Lake City, which again didn't exist when I skated, but it's the fastest ice in the world. It's the highest. It's at 4,300 feet, and the higher altitude, the better for our sport. It hurts more. It hurts your lungs and your legs more, but it's worth it. It's worth the trade-off, because there's so much glide on the ice, and less air resistance, so you go a lot faster.
How many strides did you need to go, okay, this ice is great, or this is like, eh?
2. I mean, you literally, honestly, you kind of can look at it. We know just by looking that it's going to be good or bad. And yeah, so, but it's a fair question.
Coldest you've ever been in your life?
We had to skate one time, and I don't know why they didn't. I was a junior still, so I was probably 16 or 17 in Milwaukee. The regular temperature was like 25 below or something, and they had us race. I have no idea why. And we were out there. I was finished, and like your eyes water, and the water from my eyes was freezing. That's as cold as I've ever been.
Favorite speed skating track, non-Wisconsin division?
Yeah, I'd say Salt Lake City.
Okay, how about European division?
Oh, yes. Town called Insel, Germany, southern Bavarian part of Germany. This little storybook town. It was our home base in Europe. We lived there, and then we'd travel from there to the competitions. And we go back whenever we can. It's unbelievable.
What was your golf handicap before you met your wife, and what is it now?
Before I met her, it was about 14, and now I've been as low as 2. I'm at a 4 right now. So
wow.
Getting there.
What's the best advice she gave you without, costing her money on lessons?
Well, here's the best question she ever asked me. She goes, because, golf obviously is a mental game too. And she's like, well, why can't you use your mind like you did in skating? And I said, because I knew I was good at skating. I'm like, at golf, I know I'm not good. It's just so hard.
Favorite golf course?
Been able, here's a strange one. Not strange, but one of my favorite golf courses is Black Wolf Run. I love the river course. I've played straights. I just love that golf course. It's nature. When they built it, he was charging, people said, well, people aren't going to come and pay $75 to play this golf course. $75. Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like Whistling Straits is amazing and the pictures are, but the river course is what Wisconsin looks like.
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
go there, that's what Wisconsin looks like. It doesn't look like Whistling Straits coach at all.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I have 2 more. First one, I want a story about Bonnie Blair or Johan Olav Kost that has nothing to do with skating.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Bonnie, nothing to do with skating. God, you're putting me on the spot. You needed to give me a little warning on this one. Let's see. You know what? This is actually sad, but it makes me love Bonnie so much. I'm sorry to bring this up, but literally the day we did get home from training, Bonnie came to my house for some reason this day. My brother and my dad were in the living room, and my dad was crying. I'd never seen him cry before, and I said, "What's wrong?" And they said, "Jane's got leukemia." And I'm like, "What do we do? And what does that even mean?" And my brother said, "Well, you usually die from leukemia." And I didn't know what to do or say, but Bonnie was there, and we were in the living room, and she just hugged me for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and didn't stop. And that's the relationship that we have. And it's so not a funny story, but that's one that came to mind.
How about Koss? Anything?
Johan.
Is there a camaraderie there with all you guys that amongst the group?
Oh, for sure. And yeah, absolutely. Again, this is a skating one, but even the night. So the 5,000 meters was the first race. 500 meters men was a second the next day. Johan won the gold in front of obviously the Norwegian crowd, and it was. I was just pumped up because it was so exciting. And I remember I went over to his room in the village and just congratulated him, gave him a big hug, and he's like, "Okay, you're next. And obviously the next day didn't happen, but then 4 days later it did. So he kind of returned the favor. But he's a first-class guy.
Okay, and then the last one. I'm just assuming you still have your finger on the pulse of the sport. What do I need to know about this kid, Jordan Stoltz?
You need to know that Jordan Stoltz he's the best I've ever seen at 18 years old. The best feel for the ice, natural feel, like without even having to be, not that he doesn't have a coach, but he just has it. He has this feel. He also has this endurance. he is going to try to skate a 10K this year. I don't know how that'll work out, but it doesn't matter. He's 500,000 and 1,500 meters. He will be one of the favorites in all three of those distances in the next Olympics. He is unbelievably good and a great kid as well.
18 years old, and he is in the line with Peter and Eric and you, and like he's the next in the line of the great Wisconsin speed skaters. I can't wait to watch him. Can't wait for him to get his shine. Right, he won the World Championships, but I don't know that everybody got to look at him. And in the next Olympics, I can't wait for him to show off. And again, we'll have more beaming Wisconsin pride on that speed skating oval.
Two things before you go, we would be remiss not to ask you about the Dan Jansen Foundation.
Oh, thank you. My foundation, so it's been going a long time because I started it just a year after I retired. And it was one of those things where I promised, after Jane passed, I promised I would do something to give back. And here we are, almost 30 years later, and it's changed courses over the years from, we used to give money to grants for research and so forth. Now, mostly what we do is we take care of non-medical expenses for families that are, their child's being treated. When Jane was ill, her bone marrow transplant was in Seattle. So our family's going back and forth. My mom and dad lived out there for the better part of the year. And I realized that, the treatment's one thing, but these expenses are real also. And a lot of people have to quit their jobs so they can be with their children. And so we take care of their non-medical expenses. Every day we get requests, and every day we luckily can say, yes, we'll help. And it's been amazing. We also do still help, skating. We help youth sports. But that's been our main focus, and we're still going strong.
That's very cool. All right, one more thing before you go. Can you text us Eric Hyden's cell phone number, please? Just kidding. We'd love to have him on the show. Anyway, just playing. All right, man. Hey, this has been awesome, Dan. It's weird. John and I have talked about this before. You try hard to remember that you're hosting a show, but I'll never forget the first time I talked to Bonnie Blair. And I'll never forget this. I grew up with you guys. We watched this all happen live. I was a kid. I know that a lot of people weren't, but I was. And you brought the Olympics to life for me. So thanks. It was really good to meet you. And thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Trevor. Good to meet you. John, good to see you again. And hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Appreciate it.
You as well. It's a fantastic story. And you are as great as Wisconsin itself. It's fantastic. Thanks so much for your time, Dan.
All right, guys. Take care.
I'm really glad Dan Jansen made it home because we got to see the gold medal this time, right?
Right. I am really glad that I would talk to Olympians every week. Like, I don't know that we have enough Wisconsin Olympians. We'll find the Ham brothers and some of these guys. But if we could just make it the Olympic and we could go, well, let's bring in, Caitlyn Jenner. Let's bring anybody who's won a gold medal. I'm in on them, even if they're not from Wisconsin. Like, I am Johnny Joe Olympian, and I love that competition. I know it's become more and more made for TV and seems less about athletics, but it is just, I watch it. It gives me goosebumps. I was just in Eugene, Oregon for the USA Track and Field Championship, calling that. And I was doing it with Dan O'Brien, 1996 Olympic gold medalist, Dan and Dave, and it's the same thing I ask here. There was, we had to take a moment. They played the national anthem. It was an unbelievable version. I'm getting goosebumps. And I asked Dan, I said, do you stand here? Like, when you hear that song, does it just hit your ear different? And he went in about hearing it for the first time. And, and he's like, yeah. And look, I'm doing it again. So anyway, Dan Jansen, he's amazing. And then, I don't know if you get this feel, but these are people that we talk to that are so accomplished, whether it's athletically, whether it's running the line of Kugel Brewery. And they all sound like I think people from Wisconsin sound, not just their tone, but just their humility, their down homeness, their love of the state, right? Like, I just feel like, okay, you're like, here are these people. And then I'm like, how completely relatable are those people?
That's exactly why we decided to do this. It has nothing to do with what they did. A little bit about what they did, but it's really about who they are.
Otherwise, we'd just be talking guys on the street.
Right. But it's really about who they are, though, and they are relatable. We're trying to give these people just the idea that they're one of us. Let's just hear their story. It's awesome. Yeah,
like Bonnie Blair would be like, well, why? No, I'm just going to go over for a potluck. Why don't you come with me? Right? Like, they just feel like that. And Dan's like, yeah, we need another guy for the foursome. You'd be great. Yeah, that's what I find amazing about them. And then, as you said, that sort of maybe encapsulates the show and what we think about people in Wisconsin.
We love hearing their story.
Yeah.
Speaking of story time, another episode of the life and times of the younger John Anderson. Another episode or another story from your childhood. Let's go.
So John, Wisconsin, and I want to go, as always, it's a long way to go for a very disappointing ending. But this one literally was a long way to go. Long and winding road, which started when I went to a track camp in La Crosse. The summer between my junior and my senior year. So I'd start junior year. I was late to track. I think I told you that. I'd been playing tennis, and I had these couple of good meets. And so I went to a track camp with a buddy of mine at the time, a pole vaulter guy named Greg Gay. Really good dude. Can still see him breaking his pole, but we tied him onto the top of the car, and we go off the La Crosse, and it was great. And we nearly got thrown out because we all were playing cards, and Greg and I decided to smoke cigars. We thought it was innocent. It was no biggie. Nobody was actually inhaling. Counselor comes, what are you guys doing? Anyway, so we were there a week. It was fantastic. As always, there was co-ed, so there was mixing and there was mingling. And there was a really comely young lady from Slinger, Wisconsin.
Slinger? Yeah.
And since I know since you like the racers, I thought, okay, we'll go in here, Slinger Speedway. So she's from Slinger. And by the end of the track camp, as folks had sort of, for lack of a better term, paired off, we enjoyed, listen, we're 17, right? Nothing terrible has happened. Right. So, but we make out and we kiss and we go our separate ways. It's great, Slinger. So now we're back home. And my boy one night, Steve Sharp and I, we got nothing going on. You know what we should do? Let's go see Jody, was her name. I won't say her last name. Let's go see if we can find Jody and Slinger. So we gas up the old green Toyota Cressida or whatever I had at the time with 100,000 miles, and we drive south to Slinger. This is where a cell phone would have been great. Hey, long as I have your number, what's going on? Sharpie and I thought we'd drive down and see you. We don't have this kind of technology. We don't have this. We're like Columbus. We just set sail for the new world. We're just off. We're going to Slinger. No idea. But Slinger's how big? So we just start going in places and asking if they know where Jody lives.
Stalkers. You're stalkers.
You know this gal? No, we're not. We're now at this point. It was spring. We're still 17. I haven't hit May 13th. I haven't gotten 18 yet. So Sharpie and I, we're driving around. We eventually find the address. That's not hard to suss out. And we drive up there. We're all excited. And we go up and we're feeling bold at this point. Knock on the door. Door opens. There's Mom. Hi, we're friends of Jody. It's funny. She's never mentioned. We're friends of Jody. We're looking for her. Oh, yeah, she's not here. She's in Milwaukee spending the weekend with her friends. So then we drive all the way back to Green Bay. And the thing is, so my folks, they had, because of my dad's business, they had an account. And every once in a while I'd go in there and I could sign for gas, which was reasonable. But a tank of gas, because all I did was go to school and back every day, lasted 2 weeks. And so somehow I had to try and explain why I'd signed for gas on like Friday night and then again on Saturday. Right. So that was a give up. So we couldn't do that. So then we had to piece together and find money to actually pay for a tank of gas. So because we didn't announce this to my parents. This is another one. If my mother ever figures out the technology, we'll go like, when did you guys go to Slinger? And I'll probably get grounded again. But we had to cover our tracks. So every time I think of this and I think of the cell phone, and I think of the technological advances that the kids have these days, the advantages, there's something fun about it that you get to drive down old. I think we might have did we go down 41 or 43? We might have used back then the new road to take a lot of it. But yeah, so we went all the way down to Slinger. And maybe think of that this week after doing with track this week in the track camp, and just big offer. Took the collar. Took the collar, and honestly, had never tried again. Never went down to the state meet. Didn't see her there. We were high.
She's gone. Never talked to her again.
No, never talked to her after leaving actually the lacrosse. But I want to go. I would like it to be known. I made the effort. We made the effort.
Messed up, Jody. Went to Milwaukee at the wrong time.
Who knows what could have been?
What could have been? Man, Those are fun stories.
So now, like Kenny Mayne, and that's our show.
No. It's not our show. Another episode of Deeper Roots with our friends at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
What do you have?
We're going to get you back, by the way, to do a Deeper Roots episode and actually bring all of these John, Wisconsin stories together to life and walk around Green Bay and see where you grew up. That's
we had all these people together, the whole planet might melt.
I would like to try.
We'll go do it from
this time around. The fabulous farm babe, Pam Jahnke. So, JA, this is a woman that has dedicated her life to being the farmer's advocate on the broadcast side, like you and I. She has a show literally every morning where she tells farmers what's going on in their world, keeps them up to date, and this woman is a hoot. Actually grew up on a farm in Abrams, Wisconsin, just north of Green Bay. It's a good one. You'll love this. She is a wonderful woman and a dear friend of mine. This is the fabulous farm babe, Pam Jahnke, on Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
I'm so grateful to be able to tell your story on your family farm in Abrams, Wisconsin. With is that going to be knee high by the 4th of July?
I don't know this year. We'll see.
We need more rain.
I don't know. That's all. You want to start a conversation with a farmer? Always start with weather.
Farmers, brewers, hunters, packers, badgers, cheeseheads, neighbors. No matter what name we go by, we are bound together by our roots. These are the people, the stories, and the patriotism from inside Wisconsin. Welcome to Deeper Roots with Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
All right, so let's be real. Where else would we start season 2 of the Deeper Roots episodes with Inside Wisconsin with Pam Jahnke, the fabulous farm babe? Did you coin that yourself, right?
It was a joke that went awry.
This is where you grew up.
Yeah.
So is it fair to say that this is where it all started for what has been your career? Is this where you fell in love with farming?
Oh, for sure. When I was a kid, there wasn't a phone in the barn. So you yelled from the house to the barn to get folks to come in if there was an important call. So I've always been using my voice around the farm.
What was the moment where it clicked over to, I'm going to do this on behalf of all the other farmers across the entire state for the rest of my career?
Well, it probably was a little bit more gradual than you might think. So when I was growing up, things were challenging in agriculture. We never milked more than 40 cows. Then I went to college in the 80s. I graduated from O'Connell Falls in 82, and that is when interest rates for farm loans were 18 to 22 if you could get a loan. And I got a phone call from my mom, and she said, listen, we just got done talking to the tax man. And he said, the greatest liability this farm has is our college daughter, get a job. And it never dawned on me to get a job. I wanted to become an agriculture attorney. At that time, there were all kinds of bankruptcies, foreclosures, sheriffs coming out and kicking farmers off the land. And so I wanted to get in on that action. I wanted to be the farmer's advocate. And one of my professors said to me, Jahnke, why don't you wake up and smell the coffee? You never shut up, you're talking to everybody. You're all about, what's going on. He said, why don't you go over to journalism and see what they can do? And I'd already been doing radio just for kicks. There was no ag journalism at that time. So I did broad area agriculture and broadcast journalism as a dual major.
All with the idea that you eventually, ironically, are the farmer's advocate, just on the broadcast side now. Kind of funny how that worked out.
My background, the way I was brought up, my family's, the influence of all my family, we farmed together. I mean, all of that guides me internally on story direction. When you grow up in it, you get a second sense about what's going on.
You started doing this well before this new hot thing called the internet.
Oh, baby.
How did that flip your world on its head?
When I started in farm broadcasting, I had one station. I had to call, I had a rotary dial phone, I had what were makeshift 8-track cassettes where my audio loop was, and everything had to be live and right here. There wasn't really much phone interview because they didn't have cell phones. And they're not going to sit in the house and wait for you to call them. Technology comes along, innovations in the studio with my equipment, how I'm doing things, and it makes things faster, but you still have to rely on relationships. Know that you are paying attention to their kids in the ring, or their crops, or their dairy celebration, or their anniversary. You've got to show up. Today, I'm on 26 radio stations and growing. I do television Monday through Friday. Fabulous Farm Babe is the website, is my license plate, is my hashtag.
You said earlier that the Fabulous Farm Babe was a joke.
Yep.
So you got to tell that story. Let's go.
October of 1990, there was a woman, one of the first, if not the only woman that was doing sports on a syndicated platform nationwide. She was a sports babe. And I remember I listened to her because she had drops and she had the hottest guests. So the Farm Bureau guys, Wisconsin Farm Bureau guys, said, hey, come out to this meeting. You know, a bunch of guys are going to be there. So I'd show up and then they would introduce me. You've heard of the sports babe? Well, this is our farm babe. And so it started that way, where they all started just introducing me as the farm babe. And then it got to embellishments. Then it was Fabulous Farm Babe. And then I lost control.
What does the word farm mean to the Fabulous Farm Babe?
I don't look at it as the technical, how many cows, how many acres, gross production numbers. I don't look at that. I look at the family dynamics. I look at the fact that it's still mom, dad, and the kids, or mom, dad, kids, in-laws, multi-generations. Those people that help us, we care very much about, and their families. The family dynamic in Wisconsin agriculture, you can't deny it.
There hasn't been much you haven't seen in all of the years that you've been in this business.
Yeah.
And then COVID hits. So let's get real. How freaked out were farmers?
Farmers were some of the first directly impacted by COVID.
Yeah.
Why? People couldn't go to work, can't process milk, can't process meat. We've got people that are emailing me and texting me about, why can't I get more than a gallon of milk? And then I'm doing a story about a dairy farmer dumping a semi-load in the lagoon, and the disconnect. And so now I have to slow down. It's not just about the news churn, it's about helping that consumer understand, why can't I get pork? Why can't I get beef? Why? And I was the only one that was in that wheelhouse every day. There had been yard signs people had started putting up. FFA supports dairy farmers. Please support your pork producer and that. And I thought, we should not be segmenting by commodity. So I said to the boss, we ought to do a Wisconsin Needs Farmers. So I had staff driving across the state of Wisconsin delivering Wisconsin Needs Farmers red and black yard signs. And thank God, sponsors stepped up and helped us defray some of the cost. And more importantly, that was a catalyst to bring some of my buddies in the radio building back to work.
Who's going to be the advocate when you're not the advocate anymore?
I got a staff of 3 that are incredibly talented right now.
Passionate like you are?
Yeah, you have to. Listen, I go in at 2 a.m. So when I'm going in...
Still.
So
You're
the
still
first,
going at 2 a.m.
For the first 15 minutes, I'm pulling out of the garage. It's rah, 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 rah. Why am I doing this? Why am I at my age? Why am I doing this? Rah, rah, rah. If you don't love it, people can hear it. My audience is a very, very loyal audience, but they aren't afraid to cry BS if they think you're insincere.
If you could pick one thing, Pam, that you would say, if this is what I want to stay true for Wisconsin farms long past your career, what do you want to make sure we never lose?
Respect and appreciation. Whether it's knowing you can buy local, never take it for granted. Whether it's watching that neighbor kid show an animal at the fair, never take it for granted. That's the real thing. It's not just about the farms, it's about the cheese plants, the milk co-ops, all of the infrastructure that helps our agriculture, that touches every community somehow. What did they say? 1 out of every 20 people is involved in agriculture. You just may not see it that way. And it's going to continue to evolve.
where are we sitting right now? What is this place? Why is Lambeau Field behind us?
So you were at my home farm.
Yes.
I love my home farm, but growing up in that house, I don't want to go back to that house in retirement. So you are sitting in the backyard of what I love to call Pambo. And this is in Green Bay, where we will retire. We are not snowbirds.
Yeah, sure.
We will be here because of the atmosphere, because of the neighborhood, because it is Wisconsin. That's kind of my job. Slow you down, don't make the assumptions.
You think anybody can make a career out of that?
I don't know, we'll see.
More headroom? I'm the problem again. So
Watch out for the pigeons. They'll be part of the fun.
All right, tall guy, birds.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. What's one of the favorite fruits of summer in Wisconsin?
Sweet corn.
Fruit. My
Food.
job is never done.
That's gonna
Mother,
make the blooper reel.
how about a strawberry?
I would go that route,
Which
yeah.
I'd smack you aside the head and show people a strawberry.
Sweet corn's good too.
It is always a good time with the fabulous farm babe, Pam Jahnke. What an incredible, deep-rooted Wisconsin story that we're proud to share. We appreciate you, Pam. That's the kickoff to Season 2 with Deeper Roots with our friends at Blaine's Farm and Fleet. If you or someone you know also has a deep-rooted story, let us know, would you please? All you need to do is head to farmandfleet.com/deeperroots and fill out the form for your chance to be featured here on the show. As always, don't forget to like and comment below, subscribe if you're on YouTube, leave a 5-star review if you're listening to the podcast. All right, we will see you next time.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Remember to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, smash the like button, just get with us.
The Inside Wisconsin Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, Aaron's Company, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Capital Credit Union, Festival Foods, Quick Trip, Miller Lite, North Star Mohican Casino Resort, Provea Health, and the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
Shut up and sit down.